Welcome back to My Seminary Life. I'm your host, Brandon Knight, and today we have a special vlog edition of the show. I don't know if people still call these things vlogs or not, but that's what I'm calling it. It's a vlog edition of the show talking about how my preaching residency has been going over the past 6 weeks. So before we get into that, let's do all the usual YouTube stuff. Please consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't yet already. Hit the like button and drop in the comments and comment something. I don't have a prompt, honestly, for this one. Maybe by the end of the episode I'll think of something. But no, I don't have any prompts, so just say hi. Go in the comments and just say hi. That's all I want you to say. Anyway, so in today's episode, we're talking about my preaching residency. So back in mid-October, I stepped into a church actually in my hometown that their pastor had just resigned, and the deacons decided that one way to take something off of their plate while they started getting things ready, trying to get a plan in action for next steps for the church, that in order to take something off of their plate and to kind of bring a sense of like routine to the church environment, they reached out to me to see if I could preach from mid-October to basically the end of the year. It's just about the end of December is when I will be finishing up my time there. So 2.5 months. Usually when I do my pulpit supply ministry, it's like a Sunday or maybe 2 in a row, usually just one, and I'll see you in another month or so. But this was the first time that anyone had ever reached out to say, basically, hey, could you come in? And we're using the term preaching residency, but there is a level of being the functional pastor is kind of the term I also keep using. I'm the functional pastor to kind of help things move. And again, kind of bring this like sense of like routine, normal, into the on a Sunday morning, and also, to kind of shepherd people through the difficulty of a pastor leaving a congregation, and then, shepherd a congregation through the holidays. This is a big time for churches, a busy season for everybody, and a busy season for the church. And the deacons, I don't want to say they were necessarily caught off guard, but just with a lot on their plate right now, they saw this as an opportunity to take something off their plate and not have to think about for an extended period of time. Because a lot of times with churches, when they get into this time period where they don't have a pastor, it's a little bit more of this like, you preach this Sunday, then this person, and then this person, and it kind of becomes like this rotating circus of people. They don't have to even think about that now. They just have me, and I'm preaching through to the end of the year. So in this edition, I'm going to be talking about the first 6 weeks, and then I'll check back here near the end of December to talk about basically how the holidays went. I am not going to go in depth on what I've been preaching on over the past few weeks. If you're interested, you should go check out the podcast. So over on the podcast, I've been doing a reoccurring series called Rabbit Trail, where I recap the sermon. It's not just like the audio of the sermon, but I hit all the high points, all the main points from the sermon. And then I talk about a related subject that doesn't quite fit, but also kind of like branches off from the sermon. So it's important, it's interesting, but didn't necessarily like fit with the full context of the sermon. So if you're interested in hearing more about the sermons themselves, go check out the podcast. I'm also not going to be getting into the nitty-gritty of what's exactly going on here at the church. I'm not under any kind of contractual anything. That's just me trying to exercise a little bit of wisdom and give this church a little bit of privacy. This is a difficult season. This is a difficult time when a church's pastor resigns and moves on. And it doesn't even matter if it's a good reason, a bad reason, and any reason. Like its transition change is hard, right? So just trying to, respect them, let them process, let them do what they need to do, and not air everything out there. And that's just me choosing to do that. There's one thing that will come up because we have to. I think it's an important thing to talk about. But other than that, this isn't this isn't some like hot take, just smearing. And honestly, I don't really have there's not really all that much to really smear anyway. But basically, how it's been going well. The short answer is things have been going well over these past 6 weeks. I'm sure I'm going to say things that pastors who have been in a church setting for a long time, maybe even several church settings, they're going to nod their head and go, yep, he's finally getting it. Because, even though I've been doing this preaching ministry for 10 years now and occasionally helping out churches in long terms with other smaller projects, this is my first time of really boots to the ground kind of thing of taking a lot of the theoretical that I've been studying in seminary, that is, and now putting it into the practical. So if everybody was curious how long it takes before the guest preacher starts to be treated like the regular pastor and people just start complaining to them, 3 weeks. It takes about 3 weeks before the novelty of you're a special guest wears off and people just start complaining to you about things. It wasn't overwhelming at all. The complaints weren't overwhelming. And it had really nothing to do with me. It wasn't any small changes that I had made or anything I had preached on. It was more so venting about decisions that were made in the past by previous pastors. And for me, it was one of those moments where just shut up and take it on the chin. This person just needs to get it out. So take it on the chin for some other guy that you don't really even know, honestly. Just take it on the chin and move on. And that's it's happened a few more times since then. And is that fair to me? No, but every pastor knows that those kind of situations happen. I've had people complain to me for things I've actually preached or didn't preach before in the past. I've had plenty of people complain to me about having a show with the name seminary in the title or with the word seminary in the title. So I've had people complain to me for more legitimate things that were actually my fault. But, this was just one of those moments where I'm ministering directly to a person who needs to just vent about what they think about the church right now and decisions that were made. But it's also an inadvertent way to minister to somebody else. I didn't tell that person, well, you should go complain to the other pastors who were used to be here. That, just kind of take it as if I was the person who made the decisions and move on. If you're also curious how long it takes for a guest preacher, how many weeks in a row of guest preaching it takes before the guest preacher kind of starts to get tired and run down a little bit, the answer is 6. I just finished the 6th week this past Sunday, the Sunday right before Thanksgiving. And I went into, I've been very much in a spirit of I want to serve this church and care about them, and I do. This past Sunday was the first one where I had to be praying a lot to get through it, honestly. I had come off of a bad week. It was a rough week for myself, just personal things, family things, life, you know how it is, holidays, the whole bit. And I got to church on Sunday to shepherd this flock and care for them, and my thought was, I don't want to do this. I'm not up to this. And my prayer between me and God throughout the majority of the Sunday morning was not so much a God, just get me through this. That wasn't my prayer, and I'm thankful for that. My prayer was more of a please use me, this jar of clay. Please use this jar of clay however you can. That's refresh me, equip me, whatever you got to do to bring me through this time, to care for this congregation well to the best of my ability. I'm definitely not a grit it and push through person. I used to be. I still can be sometimes, but I try not to be with ministry anymore. And instead just kind of seeing like, okay, this is my weakness on display here, so I need to step back, acknowledge my weakness, and turn to Jesus and say, be my strength, please, right now. So yeah, that's how long it takes before someone starts complaining. That's how long it takes before the guest preacher starts to feel a little worn out. But got a whole month ahead of me still, so we'll see how the next month goes. As for the sermons themselves, I'm not going to get into full details, like I said, but I've done 3 2-part sermons over the past few weeks. First one was on transitions in leadership. Second one was on processing grief, which you can hear episodes for those sermons already up on the My Seminary Life podcast. And then the last 2 plus a bonus Sunday evening, or not Sunday evening, Wednesday evening devotional that I did was on thankfulness and praise. Now that praise one just came out today. You can go check out that episode on having my little devotional at a Pie and Praise fellowship. And there's something you can comment. You can comment below if you know what a Pie and Praise fellowship is. Those 2 sermons on thankfulness, though, those will be hitting the MSL feed later on. Gonna get through the holidays and get caught up on a few things in the new year first before we talk a little bit about thankfulness, because we can talk about thankfulness more than just at Thanksgiving. The only thing I will add here on the sermon front, something I did not talk about on the podcast, is that, so I did these 2 weeks on transitions in leadership, just kind of addressing the elephant in the room. Hey, the pastor has moved on. And then 2 weeks on processing grief, because not only is this, something that was weighing heavily on the congregation, looking forward to the holidays, this can be a time of a lot of grief for people because, not having loved ones like they normally would this time of the year. And I got done with that sermon. So that's 4 weeks in a row of talking about really heavy emotional things. And I checked myself and I read the room a little bit. And at the end of that sermon, I said, I have good news. I think it's time we move on from the heavy and talk about something a little lighter. And that's when, I talked about starting the thankfulness series. So I did kind of notice a little bit of like I think this is I was already planning on moving on after that sermon, but there was a little, I was thankful for that, because I was like, I don't think pressing this conversation of the pastor is gone, processing hard feelings, that kind of thing, I don't think we could have talked about it another week, or they would have been like, okay, we need to move on now, please. And I think that was about it. There has been one big change that has happened in the church since I stepped in, and that was, for whatever reason, again, this was kind of going back to the complaint situation earlier on. For whatever reason, the church had gotten out of the habit of taking communion at all. Yeah, they're of this style where normally you take it about once a month or at special occasions like Easter, Christmas, that kind of thing. But during the previous pastor's time, it kind of became this like completely out of the habit, doing it once every few months when they remembered. And I know there's probably some people out there watching this who are like flabbergasted by that. You come from the church world where you take it every single week and it's just like baked into your service. Hey, don't get me wrong, I totally agree with you, because I was like, what? So that is one thing we've already changed. Did it the first Sunday of November. Gonna do it tomorrow, the first Sunday of December, and move forward from there. Just because that is, such a staple part of what we're supposed to be doing when we're gathered together, and it's sad, but that is something to, rejoice that the deacons prioritized that, brought that to me, and I said, yeah, we can make this happen. This is a no-brainer. Do you have the elements? Yes, we have elements. Okay, yeah, we can do this. Like, we got this. And so yeah, continue to be praying for this church as they move forward, trying to get things arranged. They're looking to candidate pastors, so be praying for them, for the deacons' wisdom as they move forward, and be praying for me. I know going into December, it's going to be busy. It's going to be busy. It's December. It's Christmas. So like I said, I'm already starting to feel a little tired, but looking forward to recording this, getting it posted, and then sitting down and watching some Doctor Who and just kind of relaxing a little bit before I hit the grind again. Just be praying for me. Appreciate that. That's it for this vlog edition. I will touch base with you all again in this vlog edition of My Seminary Life at the end of December to let you know how the Christmas season went, the holiday season, as it were, went. And actually, I'll let you all know that a second church has reached out to me now to pick up where I leave off with this church and do a residency with them for a whole month in January. So that will make for an interesting third edition of this video series where I get to talk about, okay, now I'm at a different church, and kind of walk through that with a different congregation now. But thank you all for watching. If you have never checked out the podcast, or you're not following the show on Facebook and Instagram, or you want to support the show financially on Buy Me a Coffee or at our merch shop, links for all of those things will be in the description of this video. Thanks again for watching. But as always, this is Brandon signing off, reminding you that theology is for everyone, so keep on studying.